Must-have tools for a handyman, aka home improvement contractor, aka jack of all trades. This video will show you what I have in my tool bags and in my tool kits for general purpose jobs. It's more geared towards other people who are doing handyman or handywoman stuff professionally rather than the average homeowner who probably won't need most of this stuff. Unless you want to DIY all of your home improvements and your house repairs, then by all means you could use a lot of this stuff. So I have separate videos about the Husky bag, which I use now as my main toolbox. Put it right up on my back, up on my shoulders, so it clears my hands while I'm walking, and it's much easier on my back than something over the shoulder, which I used before. I have separate videos for my review of these Milwaukee impact driver and drill driver hammer drill combo, which in my case came with a multi-tool in a nice little bag. I did a review on that, separate video on that. These tools, there are some tools for small electric repairs and some tools for small plumbing repairs. If you're in a state or if you have a license that allows for plumbing work, electrical work, totally separate videos for all of the plumbing tools, must-have plumbing tools for your basic handyman plumbing jobs and DIY home improvements, and a video on the electrical tools as well. But if you're doing electrical work in your regular backpack, you'll see very small things that you're going to need. Of course, you're going to need a flashlight, a headlamp, some electrical tape, something to check the receptacles, something to check voltage, and a light like this, which is also very handy in almost, well, any job where it'll be dark. For instance, under a cabinet, you think this will be good enough, but you put this thing under, you're doing a faucet repair, garbage disposal repair, installation. I put this thing up, brightens up underneath the cabinet. This is a Husky. This one is AA batteries, but you can get the rechargeable kind. So basically, I have, in my other video, I'll show you how I put all these tools in the bag, but I don't bring certain things with me on every single job. I like to bring the impact driver because you'll see I have many of these impact drill bits that allow me to drill. This is a metal one. I have masonry ones which I've used, and that handles drilling into concrete, brick, block, whatever have you. So basically, you're going to want a power drill of some kind. If you are going to be going into concrete a lot, you may as well get the hammer drill, and then you can get bits for that. Well, obviously I don't recommend using the hammer drill for everything. You have a tile bits here, you would go really slow. Multi-purpose bits, I have the 1/2-inch one in the my mounting bag. Everything to the left here is my usual stuff, and then to the right here is my mounting stuff. So that's a large portion of my jobs. I also have painting and carpentry, drywall repair. You'll see I showed you the electrical. If you're going to be doing plumbing, then you're going to want to have the basic stuff that you'll use all the time. WD-40 use all the time, pipe dope or pipe compound all the time, Teflon tape if you're going to be doing anything around a water heater. I didn't repair the water heaters, but I have reset them, and I've used this on the job just to make sure all the connections are good. It's not sensing any gas. It's a gas sensor, by the way. So you have pipe wrenches at the very least, pliers of many various different sizes, which I show in my other video about the plumbing stuff. So I like to put things in separate bags, so I'll put all those little plumbing things in that little bag back there. Same thing for electrical tools, but in this bag, this little bag, Allen wrenches. See them all the time, especially if you're going to do assembly. If you're going to do assembly stuff, you're going to have metric sized bolts IKEA stuff. I didn't put them all here, but I assembled a swing set and playhouse slide combo, which is a gigantic play set, which is definitely going to need some wrenches. So I have metric and imperial of those as well. I didn't put them all out here, and I don't bring them with me all the time. It's too heavy. But what I do bring all the time are these little sockets. These are impact. So you have a, for instance, a 1/2 inch one, magnetic. This is going to be great for mounting TVs. The lag bolt right in there goes in the impact, or a regular drill. But if you have a bunch of sockets, you can get an impact adapter, and then it goes right there in the sockets, which you'll want to bring anyway with a ratchet wrench. I use those all the time. I've used this a couple times. This is a tiny ratchet wrench for hard to reach tiny spaces. Similar things like this that I may have only used once, but when you need it, you really need it. And these things I don't use all the time, but I like to have them with me. A stepper bit in case I get a metal studs. A lot of times you have to assume that homeowners who contract me to do work, they don't know what their wall is. They don't know if they have metal studs, wood studs. I've had customers that call me for plaster and lath, mirror hanging. Turns out it was concrete. So you have to be able to adapt. That's why I have all these different concrete bits, masonry bits that are always going to be with me. Just in case. Same thing with tile. I have a 3/8 inch bit here, so I can use a 3/8 inch, or well, actually a 1/8 bolt, toggle bolt, if somebody's putting in a toilet paper holder and whatnot. You could have I do have a larger hammer. I also have a 4-pound hammer as well, but I like this because it's small and it fits in smaller places, fits right in that bag. A multi-tool like this for the pliers, which are used all the time. You can have a set of pliers as well, but why not have this? I've used the saw for drywall. I've used the blade, and I usually don't need to use the various screwdriver bits because I have this Milwaukee ratchet wrench, which I love. So I have a bunch of different bits that I use, and these are ones that may not be common, but you know, different Torx sizes, Robertson square sizes that you come into contact with, and then if you don't have the right bit, it'll be impossible to move forward. This thing, you can pry up nails with this, but you can also hold bolts, which pull. For toggle bolts, you have to pull it towards you as you're tightening it, which can be tricky. They call this a pick and a pick set, but I use it like an awl and a kind of poker that pokes into drywall. If you're going to be doing any kind of mounting, you're going to want to know that you can't completely rely on the stud finders. You're going to have to poke some holes, and even if the stud finder says there's a stud there, you poke through, and you poke right through, then you didn't get the stud. Customers would rather have you put a few small holes than have you try to put a lag bolt through almost nothing, or the side of a stud, for instance. So this is very handy. I told you about the plumbing stuff. Now, if you're going to be doing a lot of TV mounting, very popular skill, you're going to want to have a level. I like this 16-inch one because then you have between two studs. So you got the line, you can draw a line. You can have a smaller one. I do use a smaller one all the time, a magnetic one. If you're going to be doing drywall repair, you're going to want a drywall saw, various different scrapers and things like that. Sanding pad. I've used this miter saw. Depends on what you're going to be doing a lot of. So if you're going to be doing a lot of mounting, you're going to get a bag separate from your main bag, and then you put all the supplies in that. As I went through within the video about the bag, these are all the various different anchors, tap cons, various plastic expansion anchors, screws for drilling, driving directly into wood studs, hooks, and long bolts, cabinet screws. I've mounted cabinets, picture hanging, the old school kind where it's a hook and you'll have wire and various sawtooth. I use this all the time for installing curtain. When you have the curtain bracket, it's not going to be right on top of the trim around the window. It may be 3 inches up, 3 inches over, whatever. This makes that really quick to be able to measure. This whole little thing I put on my belt when I'm doing the mounting jobs, I have a tape measure that measures on the wall. I have this bent back so it measures on the wall quickly. A little flashlight. Again, this little pick that I use as a poker. Every single mounting job, whether it's picture hanging, TV mounting, whatever. If it's drywall, you're going to be poking through this, or use this to test if it is drywall. If it's difficult to poke through, then it's probably plaster. And obviously all kinds of pencils and eraser tools. I love this zircon stud finder. This DeWalt one is good. It has detects electrical. I had to put these pads on it because this can mar wall surfaces that aren't easy to clean up. They thought ahead and put a little felt on this one, but that one they didn't. I like to have one in case one doesn't work. Calculator. When you have odd, different calculations that aren't as easy to do in your head. I bought this for $1, but that where it's handy. I use this little, you could use little pads, furniture pads or something. If you're going to do a TV mounting, you're going to put the TV face down on something. You're not going to want to scratch any or break anything. So you get this on the floor. Same thing, I have smaller ones for assembly. Furniture, it protects the floor as well as the furniture itself. So other things, this thing is indispensable if you're going to do any kind of mounting, anything with the wall, as a handyman would do, wall repairs. This can detect metal studs. This can detect the nails in a plaster and lath wall so you know where the stud is. I have a video on that if you want to check out that video. And it depends, like I said, if you're going to be doing a lot of painting, something like this is very handy. Just as one hand, you're doing trim work, cutting in, or just a small painting. I like everything as small as possible. For instance, this little blade that I use for small wall repairs, mainly wall holes that I have made looking for studs, that kind of thing. Don't want to leave holes on the wall. And I tell them, it's going to turn into white, then you can sand it and paint it. My very first video on this channel, I built my shed myself. I use this speed square to figure out the angles of rafters. It's really handy for putting it on wood if you have the circular saw in your right hand and you put this on the wood right where you need to, where you've measured where your blade will cut, about 1.5 inches away from wherever you've measured. Whole videos about that. So I didn't put all of my tools, all of my circular saws, those things, saw horses, things like that. I do have got the hacksaw, the small hacksaw for hard to reach places. I've used this Craftsman blower, the tiny little thing that uses a regular Craftsman battery. That way you don't have to lug around a cord and you can clean up very easily instead of sweeping around. Very, very nice, very easy to clean. Like again, I don't bring that on every single. I said I wouldn't go into plumbing too much, but since we're here, so this is my regular plumbing toolbox. Plumbing, I find, needs a lot of different supplies. Various washers, all kinds of O-rings, things like that you'll need all the time. Little brushes, silicone grease for putting in cartridges, pliers, and more pliers. I do have a caulk gun, but these things are easy and they're fairly cheap. They're easy to put in your pocket. You have a tubing cutter. You cut copper, more picks and scraping things for prying things out. I actually use this for the plumbing under a sink, the drain pipes. And here we have another blade. This thing is handy for putting in faucets. More pliers, strap wrenches so you don't mar surface. This whole bag here is for soldering. We have a seat, what do you call it? This faucet reseater. Plumber's putty, plumber's grease, and caulk. Those three things you're definitely going to need all the time. Wrenches, various wrenches. Various extractors and pullers. Basin wrench. Things like that. Sponges. You're going to, if you're replacing a faucet, you're going to want to clean the area so you get a nice waterproof seal. We have various files, Q-tips, use all the time, brushes, use all the time. This thing was actually a bicycle repair thing, but it's handy because it's quick. And then my most used pliers. So this is my plumbing plus the gas for soldering. So here I have, if you're going to be doing any electrical work, this thing is great for stripping and cutting Romex. This whole thing is for, let's see, that thing was for finding the circuit. So you plug it into any outlet or you plug it into any light, or you just get one hot and one neutral wire anywhere, terminating anywhere, and that will help find the circuit so you don't have to shut off the whole building. This thing must have, it's a contactless voltage tester. You're going to want to test in several different ways, but that's the first one. So you have all kinds of different pliers, strippers, various replacement parts. This is a continuity tester. And this thing will also test if the receptacle is wired correctly. You're gonna want things like that. Various different things like this that if you're that don't always come in a kit. For instance, a garbage disposal, hardwired, may not even have it. I don't know why they wouldn't include that, but you want to have it in your own bag. So I don't do that much electrical and plumbing, but it's there. If you need to do that kind of work, you're going to want to have some kind of bag like that. So you could have a gigantic tool belt, or you could use one of these little things. I don't think I even paid $10 for this. You might laugh because it's so tiny, but that's good. It's just on the side, it's out of the way, it's light, and it just includes the essentials. Same thing with on your backpack, on your shoulders. Then your hands are free and it's easier on your back. But what I do is I bring everything in that regular bag that I bring on every single job, and then various smaller bags. Some of them will even fit in the Husky bag. For instance, that little plumbing thing, I have the same size for all assembly jobs, and they'll just fit right in there. And this bag, this Craftsman bag, which used to be my regular bag, is now just for mounting. So all of this stuff is mounting, can mount pretty much anything into any surface with the stuff I have here, in addition to the hammer drill, or even the impact, depending on what it is, depending on what's and obviously your various tools that you may use. This one is to help install flooring. So if you're installing flooring a lot, you'll find which tools to bring, but by and large, things that you'll need all the time that I bring all the time. Every time I try to make a smaller bag just to be more efficient, I'll end up needing one little thing. You know, you show up and then turns out they have tile that they didn't tell you. You assume that it's a drywall and you got to put a towel bar or a toilet paper holder, and you have tile, so you're going to have to drill into it. So you're going to want to have the bits. Same thing with masonry. You can use a multi-purpose to drill into plaster, but you could also use a masonry as well. But if the customer was unsure, you're going to want to have the masonry bits there. If you're going to do TV mounting, you'll figure out pretty quick what are easy tools to bring. And then stuff like personal protective gear. I don't bring that 3M mask on every job, but it helps to have when dealing with nasty stuff to breathe in. And then of course, I mentioned this, knee pads save your knees. Either knee pads or this thing that I use all the time. Anytime I get down on the floor, I'm going to use it. These are all washers, screws, nuts, bolts, spacers, some anchors and things like that. A few brackets, a few Tapcons, things that you're going to need depending on the repair. But depending on the repair, you may find that there aren't enough screws in whatever kit that you're installing, or if you're repairing a fence or something like that, you're going to have exterior screws on hand. A lot of these things will save you from running out to the store, so better to just have them, even if it's going to add to the weight of carrying around. And then of course you can have your van, your car, and have all kinds of extra stuff in there as well. So there you have it. There's my tool bag, tool kit, tool pouch, tool box, breakout, layout, whatever you want to call it. So hopefully some of these tips were helpful. If they were, hit the subscribe button, and thank you for watching.